1st of December, day of Saint Eligius Anno Domini 1485. I shall write about a conversation I had with my lord and husband. We sat in one of the luxurious rooms of the upstairs till I felt that now would be appropriate moment to speak.
"Your curiosity is bottomless,"
he remarked wearily and snatched some wine. "I want to know," I continued, and wasn't about to let the matter be.
"Very well then, I shall tell you. What do you want to know?"
"Who is this Henry Tudor?"
"He was a Welsh pretender to the throne, who challenged me as the last heir of the House of Lancaster."
"And some of his soldiers are still walking free?"
"Unfortunately yes, but I doubt there are too many of them left."
"What about Lady Margaret, who is haunting us? Who is she?"
"She was the mother of this pretender, and apparently she wants to revenge the death of her only son. Only God Almighty knows what kind of pact she had made with the devil,"
my husband replied. I crossed myself instinctively, as I imagined how this woman signed her name by her own blood to the book of Satan himself. By doing so she had condemned her immortal soul to damnation just to have vengeance. She must have been mad, and now she threatened both my and my unborn child's lives. "What we will do to her?" I asked in fear.
"Don't worry, I shall not give you to her."
Richard calmed me, but even his words didn't ease up my troubled heart. I sensed he was as much at loss with this matter as I was. His power didn't reach to that hidden world, and everything would be in the hands of God. We sat quietly for a long time, and only the sound of burning fire in the hearth broke the silence. Suddenly my mind was filled by the memory of our wedding night and how I had tried to lure my husband to speak about his past. Back then he had forbid me to call the ghost of the past, but now I felt that we were surrounded by demons. I needed answers. What happened at the tower?
"What?"
"You said me once that there are so much bad memories in that fortress." I waited patiently he would continue, and after a while he finally confessed.
"When my older brother Ned was alive, he was very victorious in the battles fought against the Lancastrian King Henry, and he reached his final victory at Tewkesbury, where Henry's son the Prince of Wales met his fate, and bloody Queen Margaret fled back to France where she had came from. Former King Henry was now at the mercy of my brother, waiting for his death at the tower without him realizing it."
"What do you mean by that? Was the old king betrayed?"
"Henry was unintelligent and couldn't no longer see what was happening right around him. While Ned was feasting and drinking at London, he gave me an order. I was supposed to make sure that Henry wouldn't see another dawn."
My breath quickened and I covered my mouth in shock. Richard's eyes were hard, but I could see a glimpse of sadness in them. It was clear to see his brother's order hadn't thrilled him.
"I didn't have to dip my hands to that poor devil's blood though. Ned only wanted me to witness the murder while some other bastard ended Henry's misery."
I didn't want to ask the next question which came to my mind, but it slipped from my tongue before I managed to stop myself. "How he died?"
"One of Ned's men hit Henry at the back of his head with his sword's pommel while he was praying. The blow was so hard that we could all hear how Henry's skull cracked,"
Richard replied with a hollow voice. Bitter taste of spleen rose to my mouth, but now I had been told. I wouldn't have liked to spend a night at the tower if I would have known this. Was it that room where I slept?
"No. Henry lived in a much poorer chambers."
I sighed relieved, but only partly. The act, which my husband had been witnessing, had been a cold-blooded murder, and there were no excuses. Richard turned his gaze away and stared at the burning log in the hearth. I tried to read his expression, but he was again sitting on the other side of his own wall. When he was doing so, he wanted to keep his thoughts to himself. No one couldn't see behind of his wall when he decided to shut himself away. I wonder if he ever repented his act or tried to make excuses to himself or others. Now he was sitting in silence in his chair and didn't even try to lead my thoughts to direction he wanted.
What do you think?
He finally asked and turned to look at me. Apparently you were given no other choice, I replied.
Of course I had another option. I could have refused, but I didn't.
Then why didn't you?
My sense of duty towards the king overpowered my own will. Of course I didn't always approve Ned's decisions. And when he took a bribe from the King of France, while making a truce, I told him directly what I thought about it. However, my words or words from others didn't mean much to Ned. He was the king and acted as one.
I see. Richard's expression darkened still, when the stream of memories drifted before his eyes.
On the other hand, if you dared Ned too much, his patience could run out quickly. Sometimes it was hard to me to believe of such cheerful, feast-loving and women-groping fellow would attack his close kin when agitated enough.
What do you mean? I asked, although I wasn't sure if I wanted to know.
My other brother George, the Duke of Clarence.
What happened to him?
George wanted to reach the top and overthrow Ned, but he paid for his recklessness with his life. He was proven guilty for treason and Ned arranged that George was allowed to choose the method of his execution. I recall how George once blurted out that there's no better way to leave from this world than to drown in wine. With his great gracefulness, Ned made George's wish to come true and he was privately executed at the Tower by drowning in wine. George was an idiot, but I didn't want him to die. I pleaded Ned just to scare him back to his wits, but Ned was his own judge and prosecutor.